Okay. Hello one and hello all, and welcome to another weekly Vega Testnet Jam session. This week we have Tamlin with us, who will be going over a beginner guide to Testnet, getting started, and it will be a first of a series where each week we'll go over some aspects of the testnet to get you guys familiar and underway with placing trades or creating a wallet, etc., etc. This is a weekly event. It's every Thursday, 6 p.m. So make sure to turn up next week and the week after if you have any further questions. As usual, this will be 20 minutes or so, and then we will go into the Zoom call where you can ask any questions to the team, anything you have, questions around testnet or anything Vega related. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Tamlin. I'll be taking questions and I'll be moderating from behind the scenes. But yeah, over to you, Tamlin.
Thanks, Dagan. Yeah, please do feel free to ask questions in the chat, or I'll be hanging around, after. I'm going to try and keep this to about 20 minutes. I'm really happy to take more questions after. And Dagan, I just need you to enable screen sharing. Great, thank you. Cool. Right, so I'm going to just do a little bit of a introduction, let's say, to the Vega testnet. And this is, I've called it Beginner's Edition Part 1. I think there's probably about 3 parts I'd like to cover. This is going to be the very first part. It's going to be very introduction. So first of all, let's start with what is Vega. Vega is a protocol for creating and trading derivatives, and it runs on a custom proof-of-stake network. And this network connects into major collateral blockchains. The first integration is with Ethereum, and what that means is that Ether and other ERC20 assets can be traded very easily on Vega. In fact, as I'll show briefly later, it's very easy to connect with MetaMask. So you might want to, if you don't have MetaMask downloaded yet, check that out, and also check out, Dagan's going to link a video in the chat either now or later to a really fantastic walkthrough that Chris, our developer advocate at Vega, has just published that walks you through that. So that's all about how you connect, how you get started, and how you get collateral. So that's Vega. Now, when you first visit the Vega Console, which is basically the front-end way of looking at the testnet, the Vega testnet, which is a technical demonstration, basically a technical proof of all the blockchain for trading that has been designed and implemented over the last a couple of years. So the Vega Console is a fantastic front end. If you just go visit this URL, you can have a look at it. That's where it's currently hosted. And then you'll see a screen that looks like this. Now, something that's really useful is this little introduction panel. By the way, these views are all stretchable, so even though you can't see everything here, if you're actually on testnet.vega.trading right now, you'll be able to drag it and read it all. And this introduction section, it really has a lot of fantastically useful links. One very useful link is the link to the Vega Docs, where there are loads of walkthroughs, loads of answers to FAQs. There's information on how to connect with the APIs if you're a developer. There's example code. So it's a really fantastic resource. I encourage you to check that out. And also other links in this information, this introduction panel, such as links to join the community, to leave feedback. We're always collecting feedback, and have a look at our GitHub as well. So that is the introduction panel. Then if you'd like to understand a bit more about the network that's actually running this test network, check out the network panel. It shows you things like how many validator nodes are running the proof-of-stake blockchain, and things like, sort of how quick the finality of the blockchain is, how many trades per second, etc. You can also have a look at the list of markets on Vega. So the Vega testnet currently has futures markets running. These are futures markets that have a maturity. So they're not perpetuals, that's on the roadmap and coming down the track. These are, and we're going to, this is a beginner session, so I'm actually going to explain what a futures market is in a little while. But this is a list of the Vega markets. You can also see a list of the proposals. These are proposed markets because Vega is software that anyone can use to propose a new market, maybe run a new market for a particular sort of community or need that they have. Now, the rest of the set of what we call views here, so all these different little panels, you'll note that it says you need to connect to a wallet. So to connect to a Vega wallet, just up top right, you can see if you click there and click Connect Vega Wallet, it brings up an option to either connect a local wallet or a Vega hosted wallet. We've got loads of really great resources explaining the difference between these and how to connect with each. The Vega hosted wallet is basically a beginner-friendly way to get onto Vega testnet. It's where we provide you with wallet credentials, and there's a hosted wallet server that can do some of the heavy lifting for you in interacting with the Vega blockchain. So I'm sure that many of you have received Vega hosted wallet details. If you have, click that link and then enter the wallet details you've received here into the username and passphrase. You might have been on our Discord and received some hosted wallet credentials there. If you haven't yet done that and you'd like to get some hosted wallet credentials, this is a very hot off the press feature. We have the ability to now create an account right here in the Vega console. So have a click of that. If you click create account, and it will allow you to enter a username of your choice. I've just made this one up for now, and a nice, difficult to crack passphrase ideally. Great, so that is the first panel that you see when you hop onto the first workspace, I think is a better terminology for it, that you see when you hop onto the testnet.vega.trading hosted Vega console. So I'm going to actually exit out of this presentation and we're going to go over to the console itself and have a bit of a play around together. So just please bear with me while I just stop sharing and exit this presentation, and I will reshare in one moment. And where are we? Great. Okay, so you can see I'm here at this testnet.vega.trading URL. This is Vega console, and this is this workspace that I just walked you through. And now we're going to actually go into one of the markets and we're going to place some trades, and I'm going to explain to you what a futures market is. So, oh, sorry, I apologize. I said that we were on that workspace, but this is actually the workspace that you were that I showed you just in the presentation. So you can see the same introduction panel, the network panel, etc. But what I wanted to show you was that this is the list of futures, and you'll notice that some of the futures markets here have a little hammer next to them. That is because those futures markets are currently in an auction mode. So the way that people are being matched to buy and sell is via auction. Now, the reason they're in an auction mode at the moment is simply that we're currently in a transition of implementing our liquidity mining functionality, which is very exciting. We've mostly deployed it, but we're still sort of switching over our bots to play nicely with those markets. And so at the moment, a bunch of the markets are in auction as a result. But we're going to play today with the Bitcoin US dollar futures markets. So before we click into that workspace, what I just wanted to say to you is, as you look across these futures markets, a few things to note. So as I said, note the hammer, so you can see if some of them are in auction. Note also the assets. So you want to have this asset whatever asset of the market, you need to have that asset in order to be able to trade that market. So like I said before, if you want to get yourself some assets, if you click over here into your key and click deposit withdraw, you can see a list of all the assets and you're able to go and deposit and withdraw them. And we're going to be looking at the BTC US dollar futures market, which the asset is TDI. So you can see that I've already gone ahead and deposited 100 TDI ready for us to trade on this market. Now, Chris, like I said, has done a fantastic walkthrough of how to do the deposits and withdrawals. So I'm not going to go through that right now, but I urge and encourage you to check that out. It's fantastic. So we're going to just click out of that, and we're going to also just wanted to point out to you in this futures list, if you want to know more about these markets, you can actually, if you just scroll over to the right, you can actually get details on any of the markets that are here. So the Bitcoin US dollar market that we're going to look at, we're going to click in. There's a list of details of what all the things you need to know about the market. Now, don't worry about this for now. We're going to walk through a bunch of this in later videos. Don't be daunted by any of this. We'll have a quick look at a little bit of it in a second. But this tells you everything, as I said, you need to know of how the market is operating, and sort of really important things for how you interact with the market. Right, so I think that covers what I wanted to point out on this panel. I mean, there's lots of other data and interesting things to look at, but I want to kind of get started straight in on this Bitcoin US dollar market. So if we click on this, it brings up a quick view of the market, and then you can click up the top right where it says create new workspace, and that will open up a new workspace. So if you want to navigate, and this new workspace is all of the sort of functionality that you need to trade the Bitcoin US dollar futures market. If you want to navigate between your workspaces, you can click here. In fact, I already created a Bitcoin US dollar futures view earlier. I'm going to delete that. But if I wanted to create a new workspace, I could also click the little plus button. I could select, maybe I want to look at the Aave die market, and I could add that workspace in. And I'll just do that for now so you can see that it would click up. So that's how to navigate between workspaces. Right, but we're going to look at the Bitcoin US dollar futures market. So what I want to do straight off the bat is actually talk you through this deal ticket, and we're going to actually put a trade on. And then I'm going to explain what we've actually done. So the deal ticket is really all about, do you want to buy or do you want to sell? Do you want to set the price yourself, or do you want to let the market set the price for you? So we're going to actually choose to let the market set the price for us. And I'm going to walk through a little bit later in the presentation how the system does that using a central limit order book mechanism. But you pop a quantity of 1 in this field. Let's just start with 1 to be nice and neat, simple. And do we want to buy or sell? Do we think that the price of Bitcoin is going to go up from here, or is it going to go down from here? And now, something that's important about futures is to consider at what point we're measuring whether it's gone up or down. And if you have a look in this is the information panel that you were able to get by the same details panel that I pulled up earlier. And if you scroll down to where it says instrument for this BTC US dollar futures market, you can see this field that says maturity. And actually, even in the name, you can see that it says it gives you a clue that there's the 30th of June 2021 is an important date for this future. What that actually means is that that's when this future expires. So that what you're actually doing when you put a long or a short position on this market is you're actually saying, what you're actually trading is, what is the price of the Bitcoin US dollar market going to be on the 30th of June 2021? And actually this market measures it at midnight, and you can see that here on the maturity date. It's just there's a slight bug in the console where the time is a little bit off, but this is essentially representing the 30th of June 2021 at midnight. So what do we think? I'm always bullish on Bitcoin, so I'm going to say let's buy. So I'm going to click buy now. Now we've done a market order. What that's going to mean is it's going to trade immediately, and what it's going to do is open a position for me. And the position is called a long position because we have bought one, or bought rather than sold. So we've opened up a long position of 1. And now what price did we achieve on the market? Okay, the market set a price for us of 54,866.27898. Fantastic. This next column in this table is what's called a mark price, and it's just saying, look, where is the market now? Like and actually this is currently evaluated by looking at where the market is trading. So it looks at the last traded price. Unfortunately, I bought a little higher than where the market is currently trading, but so be it. Oh, no, it's flickering around the level. But to explain what's actually happening here, I thought I might take you over to a Google spreadsheet, which I will share the link to a bit later, actually, and we'll include it in the comments. But I wanted to explain what is a future and what we're actually doing here, because we're not actually buying Bitcoin. So what I'm going to do is bring over here, our average entry price was 544. I'm going to see if I copy that over into Excel, actually. See if that works. It did work. Brilliant. So this was what's called the strike of the future. And that was the price that somebody decided they wanted to go long to buy, and somebody wanted to sell and go short. And the volume of the trade is 1. Now, the important thing, as I said, is what is going to happen on the 30th of June at midnight. That's the real key of whether we are going to, be a sort of positive P&L or a negative P&L. So what I wanted to do was map out all the potential outcomes. So this was the actual trade price. And then what you can do is just map out, well, what happens if it goes $100, higher or even more? And I think, if you're the trader or if you're, experimenting with this technology, you can then, maybe you want to make your own spreadsheet. Maybe you think it's going to go up to, 200,000. That would be fantastic, in which case your profit and loss would be super high, of course. But why I've mapped these out like this is I wanted to show that, if it goes up, we're long. If it goes up by 100, we're going to make 100. If it goes up by 200, we're going to make 200. If it goes down by 100, we lose 100. If it goes down by 200, we lose 200. So it's a very linear payoff. And in fact, you can see that if you were just to map, this is all the possible outcomes, at least within the range that we're considering at the moment, of the futures expiry value on the 30th of June. And then this would be the P&L for the trader with that open position of long 1. What if we decided, rather than go long 1, we want to go short 1? What's going to happen? Well, you're going to have the exactly opposite P&L profile. So you're going to have an exactly opposite, what we call payoff diagram. So if you ever start dipping into the theory of derivatives, you'll see a lot about payoff diagrams, and don't be scared of them. All they're doing is mapping out the potential outcomes and looking at what the potential P&L would be. And they're a very useful tool as you build more complex portfolios than just trading, one particular future. So some of you might be thinking, well, what's different about this to just going out and buying a Bitcoin? If I went and bought a Bitcoin, wouldn't I have exactly the same outcome? So if I bought a Bitcoin for 54,86628 and it went up to 54,009, up by 100, let's say, wouldn't I then sell my Bitcoin and the payoff would be 100? And that's a really good point, and that's true. What's different about futures is because you're not, at least cash settled futures that are the first futures on Vega, you're not actually buying and selling the underlying asset. And in fact, futures can even be on things that you can't buy and sell the underlying asset. Like I used to trade weather derivatives. So you can't buy and sell sunshine hours, but you can get payoffs depending on whether there is more sunshine or less sunshine. And that's typically what derivatives are used for. Actually, they're used as very often in businesses as insurance and protection against, particular outcomes that might not be favorable to a business's, particular needs. So what's different about this? So I'm going to hop back to our trade, and I'm going to just give you a little bit of a clue. If we go look at our collateral, so I forgot to point this out earlier, but do you remember we started with 100,000 DAI? Now, what's actually happened is I've got this open position, I'm long one, and you see this column that says deployed. What's actually happened is some of the collateral that I have has been booked up to this market in what we call allocated margin. And if you look back down in the bottom right in the positions window, you can see that the allocated margin amount is exactly the same as the deployed amounts of TDAI. So what that means is the Vega system has booked up that amount of TDAI, so 12, 26 or so, 1,300 or so of margin to protect this position. And what's actually happening is the person who has the negative one, so the person who I traded with, they also are paying margin. And actually everyone in the market, both the buyers and the sellers, are all paying margin because what they're doing is they're saying they're basically this is the mechanism that the Vega protocol uses and many exchanges use to allow someone to put a position on where they don't have to put the full amount of money up to buy the Bitcoin. What it happens is they put a little bit up, and then depending on which way the market moves, they have to keep putting more and more money up if the market moves against them. So what happens is that you go from now up until the 30th of June, you're either having to put more money in to the pool to cover if, say, the market started going down. Let's hope not. Say we hit a very bearish market. This allocated margin would increase because I would need to keep putting in money to cover the losses that I was making. And vice versa. If the position went in my favor, I would be receiving money because I would be receiving DAI into my account because the chunk of the market, the sellers who were, say, losing would be putting money into a pool that I was able to access. So actually, if you want to understand margins better, they're quite sort of a complex aspect of the system, but they're important to understand, if you ever want to use derivatives in any sort of serious capacity. And if you click on the allocated margin, you can see there are 4 margin levels that the protocol computes. So the initial margin is what is initially charged when you open a position. And then if the position goes in your favor, like I said, and you might be receiving it's this sort of money into as credit, let's say, because the position is going in your favor, then you get to a point where the protocol will let you use some of that money to maybe use as margin on other markets, say. If the position goes against you, the protocol is monitoring that, keeping you safe, helping sweep more money. If it goes down to the search level, what it will actually do is go over to this available amount. You can see that available amount is changing. That's because the protocol is monitoring the position, keeping the trader safe, and sweeping money from the available into the deployed to cover the position. And then if the money runs out of available, it will maybe potentially go down to the maintenance margin, at which point the protocol is able to close the trader out. That's all a lot more complicated than I want to go into today. But it's important to understand that the allocated margin is your cost basis. And so if you consider you're paying like 12, 27 or so versus 54. So you're receiving, say, you could put on a position size of say 40 or so, and that would bring you up to essentially what it would have cost you if you were just buying a Bitcoin outright. And same with the other side of the equation. So that is the very basics of margin, and I highly recommend you watch David's presentation that walks through the sort of theory behind the margin calculations. What's happening over here with the unrealized P&L is it's just doing the calculation. It's quite easy to see, actually. It's just saying, where is the mark price versus this average entry price? And it's simply this price minus that price is giving the unrealized P&L. If I had a higher volume than 1 on, it would be the mark price minus the average entry price multiplied by whatever the size of the volume was. If we were to close this position out, what would happen is you would see that this would stop moving. We would have no open position anymore. We would have no open volume on, and we would receive this would not be unrealized P&L anymore, which is almost like a theoretical P&L, and it would become real, and it would stop moving around because you wouldn't be exposed to the market anymore. You wouldn't be being charged anymore. And that's what's considered full netting, and Vega supports full netting. So it means that if you go long one future and then you go short one future, you're actually those two net each other off, and you're considered to have closed your position out. So I recommend that we do that, and you can see that in action. So we've got a quantity of 1, and what we want to do is sell. I want to sell when it goes green, but unfortunately, well, all right, I'm just going to click sell and let's hope. So let's try and sell that. Well, we unfortunately did realize a little bit of a loss, and you can see that realized is a bit of a loss. You can see there's no more margin anymore. There's no open volume, and your deployed has gone to 0. And the realized loss has come out of this available balance here. And then there's been a little bit of extra that's come out because of trading fees. If you'd like to see, the trading fees are actually set by the liquidity providers of the market. So that's a really exciting aspect of the market. And you can actually, again, back over in your market info, you can see what the current fee rate is. So you can work out how much fees you are charged. The fee rate is just this percentage times by your volume times by your average entry price. And all of this information is in the Vega Docs, so it's really easy to find. Now, I want to show you something else before we go much further, and that is what happens if you put in an order that can't trade for whatever reason. And one reason might be is I just try and put in way too big an order. I don't have enough collateral for the margin. The system is going to reject it. So let's try and do that. Let's sell this time. It doesn't really matter in this case. So I'm going to hit sell. And we're going to see in a second, hopefully, that the order gets rejected. You can see it just trying to process the order here. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I might refresh just to see what's happening here. Yeah, there's just a few little update bugs in the console. So if you ever see something like that, just refresh. But you can see that it's a status of rejected. So if I click on that status, it gives me information as to why it was rejected. And in this case, as I preempted, it was insufficient funds to cover the margin. Right. So I promised to explain the difference between a market order and a limit order, which I'd like to do. And I'd also like to very quickly show you what a auction deal ticket looks like, because it looks a bit different. And sometimes when you're going to be playing on the Vega testnet, the market might get put into an auction, because it does that when the market is low in liquidity. There is, built into the Vega protocol, there are special, what are called circuit breakers, and they're just safety features of the market. And so if there's low liquidity, or if the prices are moving too quickly, the protocol just helps to slow the system down, essentially, and avoid basically bullying or sort of bad play, let's say, in the market. And it does that by putting it into an auction. And I can see, again, if I look over here, the Aave die market is in an auction because it's got the little hammer next to it. And you'll remember I created a workspace for it earlier. I'm just going to click into that, and we should be able to see that there's just it tells you that it's in a monitoring auction. It tells you that it's ending soon, and it gives you a different deal ticket. You see, I'm not choosing between a market and a limit order, and you've got this particular order type is available where you can put an order in and it just lasts for as long as the auction lasts. So I'm not going to put a trade on this right now, but I just wanted to show you that in case when you're playing around with the Vega testnet, you come across that. So we'll go back to the BTC-USD market. And just to wrap up, I'm going to explain the difference between a limit order and a market order. So in order to do that, I'm going to just pop back to the spreadsheet. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how an order book works. So I'm just going to close some of this so as not to be too distracting. Right, so how an order book works. Now, when using an order book, it's referred to as being in the trading mode of continuous trading. And you'll also hear people talk about a central limit order book or a CLOB. And that is exactly what the mechanism that we're talking about. In order to understand the limit order book, you need to know what the quoting unit is. So if you go back here, we were clearly buying and selling in DAI. So that's what the quoting unit was. Well, it was test DAI. It was a test version of DAI that is used on the Vega testnet. And then you also need basically to know how much of a increment the pricing can go up and down. So just for the purposes of explaining the limit order book, I've decided to keep it a little bit simple and not use decimals. So I'm just going to use a price increment of 1. Now consider if the market received this set of orders, and the time that the market received it is important. So the first order that came in, trader 1 wanted to sell at 54,700. They wanted to sell 1, and their order type was limit. What that means is that they want to sell for their minimum price, that they want to sell at is 54,700. They're happy to sell for higher, of course, but that's their limit, and that's why it's called a limit order. Now, trader 2 comes in a bit later. They also want to sell for 54,700, and they're also selling at the limit. And then we have a few more. So we have another sell from trader 1. They want to sell a bit more, a bit higher price. That might make a bit of sense. If the price goes up, they want to sell a bit more. And then we have some people who want to buy. They want to buy at 54,697, and trader 1 also wants to buy some if it goes down low enough. So it looks like trader 1 is doing some buy and some sell orders. Perhaps they're a market maker. So very often you'll see this represented, and we'll just pop over here, in a sort of visual way that helps traders be able to visualize what's going on. So let's do this ourselves. So we've got trader 1 first, who wanted to sell for 54,700. So they want to sell 1. Sorry, apologies. I've got this on. I've just got the wrong. Right, they want to sell 1, and they're the first in the queue because they got their order in first. So actually, I prepared this earlier. Trader 1 is what we call the first time priority at this price. Then what happened is trader 2 came in and they also want to sell 1 for 54,700. So the total amount at 54,700 is 2. Is total on the market, but the trader 2 is behind in time priority. Cool. So let's go to trader 1 who wants to sell at 54,704 and they want to sell 5. Okay. And this is trader 1 again. So let's pop them there. Good. And then trader 3 wants to buy at 697. How much do they want to buy? They want to buy 1. Series A, yep, beautiful. And I prepared this earlier, so we should see that trader 3 wants to buy 1. And trader 1 wants to buy 10 at the 695. So 10 at 695. Great. So this is a order book, and the reason these are all sat here not trading with each other is that these guys, the lowest they want to sell for is 54,700, and trader 3, the lowest she wants to buy, the highest she'll buy at is 54,697. And so they're far apart, and this is called the best bid because it's like the highest buy in the market. This is called the best offer because it's the lowest sell, but they're still far apart. And in fact, this is called a bid offer spread, and you'd refer to the spread as 3. This is the 54,700 minus the 697. So they're 3 apart from each other. Okay, so let's have a little quiz to finish up. So the first quiz is, what happens when this order arrives? So what happens if a new trader comes in, trade number 4, they want to buy 1 at 54,704, right? So they're happy to go right up to, well, they're happy to buy all the way up to here, right? And they just want to buy 1. So what price do we think that's going to buy at? Is it going to buy at 54,704? So the answer actually, and who's going to be the seller of that 1? So unfortunately, I can't see if you guys are posting any answers, but I'm going to tell you the answer. So the buyer is trader 4, of course. They're the one who have asked to buy. And the seller is actually the first person in the queue at the lowest price. And this is what we call price time priority. So at first you have to look at what's the best price that could be achieved in the market, and then who got there first. So the seller is trader 1, and the price is 54,700, and the amount is 1. And what happens then is now trader 1 is gone from this price level. They're 1 traded. Now trader 2 moves to the front of the queue. Okay, so the next quiz. What happens when this order arrives? And we assume that this last trade has happened. So trader 5 wants to buy at 54,704. Okay. Okay, they also want to buy at 54,704, and they want to buy 2. Right. So they want to buy 2. What are the trades that happen? And I'll give you a clue. It's 2 trades. So again, using price time priority, the best price is this 54,700, and trader 2 wants to sell 1 there. So that trade matches. So you have trader 5 matches with the trader 1 as the seller, and the price is 54,700, and the amount is 1. And now that no longer is available. That's gone. That's traded. And so then where's the next best price? Well, the next best price is up here at the 54,704, which is still within the limit of what trader 5 was willing to pay. So that works out really well. So we've got trader 5 gets to buy 1 at 54,704. Did I say 704? So yeah, 704. Sorry. And the buyer is, of course, up. So this is trader 5 as the buyer. Sorry, the seller is trader 1. Oh, I've really messed this up. Sorry. The seller of the first one was trader 2, if I recall correctly. So trader 2 still had an offer at the 54,700. They were the one that was left. So they got to trade trader 5 for 1 at 54,700. And then trader 5 traded with trader 1 at 54,704 in 1. Great. So you're seeing limit orders in action, and the limit orders are interesting because they basically allow people to express the limit that they want to either buy or sell at. Now, what would happen if there was a market order? So you can think of a market order, as I said earlier, it's a bit like an order setting the price. So I haven't written this as a quiz, but if I were to buy one on a market order, well, hang on, we've traded one of these, haven't we? Let's take that down to 4. If I were to now trade one in a market order, what that would actually mean is similar to saying, I've got a limit, but my limit is so high, don't worry about it. Like it's like, I don't know, 1 billion or something like that. So it works in the same way on the limit order book, where it still works and matches with price time priority. So it still goes to the best price that one could be filled at, and who is first in the queue. And so in the same, in the exact opposite direction, if you were going to sell or go short one, it would be like saying, I'll sell at 0, or I'll sell at 0.00 whatever, 1 or whatever. And so then you are matching again with the first best price is trader 3 sat here at 54,697, and so they would be the one that gets the trade. So the trade wouldn't actually happen at the really low or the really high price, because there are people who are happy to buy and sell at better prices. So that's a really quick walkthrough of a limit order book. I hope I haven't scared you too much. It's a very interesting mechanism, very useful in markets for the efficiency gains and the way it aggregates information. There's a lot of really interesting literature around what's the best way to set a price. You know, I'm sure some of you have bought houses and some do it via auction or sealed bids. This is just another way of determining what something buys or sells at. So I realize I've gone way over in the time, so I'm going to stop right now, take a few questions if people would like, but otherwise hop onto the Zoom. Would love to get people, having their first sort of go at using this software. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and hand back to you, Dagan.
Thank you, Tamlin. That was really, really insightful, especially given all the discourse on central limit order books versus automated market makers, and how do they actually work? What is the process behind it? We had a few questions in the chat as you were talking, but okay. David was kindly answering them as you went along.
Brilliant. Wonderful.
So all questions have indeed been answered, but we really appreciate the demonstration, and I guess we can move over to Zoom if everyone is ready.
Sounds great to me. Looking forward to it. And please come, even if you can't, do anything. This is a total safe space, total beginner session. So please don't be scared. All right, we'll see you all soon.
Amazing. Thank you all for attending. I posted the link to the Zoom in the Twitch stream chat. If you want any further troubleshooting or anything after this, do head over to the Discord or Telegram, where you can seek support from the team. Thank you for attending this week, and see you on Zoom. Bye.